I stood over my daughter's hospital bed, the rhythmic hum of machines filling the sterile room with a kind of cruel indifference. Wires crawled over her like vines, and beneath them, she lay still, so heartbreakingly still, her face calm as sleep, gave no hint of the damage hidden beneath her skin. 13 fractures in her skull. The doctor said, a fall down the stairs, they claimed. But Emma was never clumsy. She was careful, deliberate, and when I looked closer, I saw her tiny hand curled around something. A scrap of paper, folded twice, edges slightly damp from her grip. I eased it from her fist. Her handwriting stared back at me, blocky and urgent. Dad, if anything happens to me, check the CCTV camera I put in my room. Everything around me faded. The soft weeping of my wife beside me, the antiseptic smell of the hospital, the murmured apologies from nurses who couldn't meet my eyes. It all dimmed beneath a rising calm that chilled every inch of me. Not fear, not panic, something colder, sharper. I bent and kissed Emma's forehead, brushing my thumb gently across her pale cheek. Then I turned to my wife. I need to get her favorite blanket, I said, my voice steady. She didn't meet my gaze, just nodded, tears spilling freely, her shoulders shaking. I walked out of the hospital with blood on my tongue from biting down on the scream lodged in my chest. The house was silent when I returned. Not the comfortable quiet of an empty home, but a hollow, aching void, too clean, too undisturbed. I locked the door behind me, moved straight to Emma's room. Nothing had been touched. That, in itself, was alarming. Emma treated her room like a sacred space. If she'd truly fallen down the stairs like they said, someone should have come in here by now, searching for answers, for clues. But everything sat in its place, untouched. Untouched because there was never any fall. I looked up toward the curtain rod. Tucked behind the fabric, nearly invisible, was the small white camera she'd asked me to buy months ago. She said it was for a school project, something for her YouTube channel. I didn't ask too many questions then, just gave her the money, and forgot. Until now, I pulled the memory card and slipped it into my laptop. Hours of footage flickered by Emma drawing, reading, chatting quietly with friends on video calls. Then a knock. Late evening. Emma looked up. "Come in." The door opened. My breath caught in my throat. My wife stepped inside, and behind her my brother. Emma's expression changed, instantly confused, then wary. She took a step back. Her voice, small but firm, cut through the muffled audio. "You said you wouldn't come here." Then the push, sudden, violent, brutal. She hit the wall with a sickening thud and collapsed. Motionless, they froze, standing over her, whispering, panicked, then silence. I sat there, paralyzed, no tears, no rage, just numb. My hand hovered over the mouse, replay, pause, replay, over and over. She had known. Emma had sensed something was wrong long before that night. That's why she hid the camera. That's why she wrote the note. She knew they would try to lie. She trusted me to find the truth. I stood and made tea, watching the steam rise and swirl. It steadied my hands, gave me something to hold while my world burned from the inside out. Then I started digging. Phone records, GPS logs, hotel bookings too. Rooms to names, booked twice a month. My brother's car, caught on neighborhood security footage near the house on days I was at work. Texts from her phone erased, but not from his. He'd been careless. One message stood out. "We have to stop coming to the house. Emma's getting suspicious." Suspicious. She hadn't just suspected, she knew. She had proof. That fear cost her everything. And my wife wept in that hospital room as though she hadn't stood in that footage. Silent, as her daughter's skull cracked against the wall. I archived everything, screenshots, logs, video, built a folder, Emma Truth. I labeled it, then renamed it, again and again. The name didn't matter. What mattered was the truth. I had it now, and I had a choice. The next morning, I returned to the hospital before visiting hours began. My wife was there already, seated beside Emma's bed, mascara smeared like war paint. "I couldn't sleep," she murmured. "No," I replied. I reached into my coat and handed her a small flash drive. "What's this?" she asked. "A memory," I said, "from Emma's room." She didn't open it right away, but something flickered behind her eyes, a recognition, a dread, like she'd always known this moment would come. When she finally watched it, there were no words, just the faint sound of her breath catching in her throat. When Emma hit the wall, my wife flinched like she'd just felt the impact for the first time. She didn't look at me, just whispered, "You don't understand." But I did. I understood everything. 17 minutes later, the police arrived. I had emailed the footage the night before. Anonymously, they placed her in handcuffs right there beside our daughter's bed. She didn't fight, didn't argue. My brother was arrested less than an hour later. As they led her away, she finally turned to me. "Please, tell them it was an accident." I met her eyes and let the silence stretch. "I did," I said. The first time, her face crumbled. The tears that followed weren't for Emma. They were for herself. Fear, not remorse. I didn't stay for the trial. Didn't need to. The truth had already done its work. Justice, in its purest form, had spoken. Emma never woke up. A week later, her body gave out. She never opened her eyes, never saw the consequences of her final act of bravery. But I made sure the world did. I buried her with the little camera in her hands. No one asked why, I told. No one. But I knew that tiny device had carried her voice beyond the grave. She'd laid a trail for me to follow, and I'd followed it into darkness and dragged the monsters into the light. Sometimes I visit her grave. I don't bring flowers. I don't talk. I just stand there, quietly remembering the girl who saw what the adults couldn't, who trusted her instincts when the people closest to her betrayed her. And when I leave, I always whisper the same words. "You were right not to trust them." Then I turn, and I walk away, and I never look back.